Hello, everybody. This is Mike, the Conservative Michigander here, or MCM for short. Um, it's been a while since I've uploaded a video to this channel, and I do apologize for that. There's been a lot of things that have been going on, and I've been meaning to get on here and touch up on quite a few subject matters, but unfortunately, I've just been busy with work and quite a few other things, and just haven't really had a whole lot of time to really chime in and talk about certain events that have been going on, time to myself anyway. So, for that I do apologize for, but anyways, I'm sorry. This isn't about me. This is about what I've been hearing about. So, for those of you, especially those who know Upchurch, you listen to Upchurch, you like the dude, or you don't like the dude. Recently he got hit pretty hard with a massive lawsuit, and now he has to pay 17 plus million to the Kiely Rodney family, because he's been making videos about them, talking about how Kylie's life wasn't real and all that, she didn't exist and all that crap. And I'm going to talk about that right now. Nashville YouTuber hit with $17.5 million verdict in defamation case over true crime video, attorney says, if I can get my words right. According to the lawsuit, the YouTuber suggested the case was fake and part of a scam to raise money through GoFundMe. What is this story about? A Nashville YouTuber has been hit with nearly 20 million verdict in a defamation case over a true crime video. Why it matters. The family of the victim said the videos spread false claims during a time of intense grief and caused damage to the family's reputation and emotional distress. What happens next? The case is now in the punitive damages phase, according to the attorney. Update on Tuesday, WSMV4 learned that $500,000 in punitive damages was also awarded against the YouTuber. The lawsuit was filed against Ryan Upchurch by relatives of Kiely Rodney, a 16-year-old California girl who disappeared in August 2022 after attending a party near Tahoe National Forest. This is court information right here. I'm not going to read this entire thing. I will try and have this article linked in the description so you guys can go and read it for yourselves. But yeah, this is the court information right here. Oops, scrolling too fast. But yeah, like I said, you guys are free to check this out. It'll definitely be linked in the description for sure. Anyways, her body was later found inside her vehicle in a nearby lake. Authorities ruled her death an accident and said there was no evidence of foul play. The girl's father, Danielle Rodney, and grandfather David Robertson sued Upchurch in federal court in Nashville in 2023, claiming he defamed them in a video titled "Zero Proof of Kiely Rodney Situation Being Real." According to the lawsuit, Upchurch suggested the case was fake and part of a scam to raise money through GoFundMe. Upchurch's counsel released the following statement. Freedom of speech is one of the most fundamental rights that is necessary for every free society. And that one thing is one that needs protecting now more than ever. While Upchurch is a staunch advocate for the United States Constitution and the rights that so many veterans fought and died for, Mr. Upchurch can be that advocate and also feel sympathy for a family in their time of grief. It is in this spirit that Upchurch would like to extend his heartfelt sympathy to the Rodney, Robertson, and Neiman families. Mr. Upchurch asks that the family be given respect and time to grieve and move forward with their lives, and would ask that the family be allowed to heal in peace. As a verdict, Mr. Upchurch has no comment at this time. There's a lot that I could say about this right here, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to waste my time going over all this, and I'm not going to read the entire article, because like I said, I'll have it linked in the description. Now, look, at the end of the day, yes, I am all for freedom of speech. I am 100% supportive of freedom of speech. I definitely think that protecting freedom of speech is important. I definitely think that everybody should have a right to say what they want to say. This is the United States of America. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to say this right here. I'm sorry. I know I'm probably going to piss off a lot of Upchurch fans, a lot of people in Creek Squad and all that. But honestly, I'm just going to say this right now. I'm sorry, Upchurch, but you kind of had this coming, dude. Like, you've made not one video talking about Kiely Rodney and claiming that her life wasn't real, her family isn't real, and all this crap. But you've made quite a few videos talking about that. I am sorry, dude, but like, you going on and on about the Kiely Rodney situation is why a lot of people are losing respect for you. Outside of the amount of people that you've cut ties with. There's quite a few people like Adam Calhoun that have even come out and, responded to the situation too. And, I'm not here to get into the whole Adam Calhoun versus Ryan Upchurch beef, because that's not what this is all about. But I'm just going to read what Adam Calhoun had to say. For any Ryan Upchurch fans hanging on to his sack for dear life, do any of you have children? God forbid any of us suffer the loss of a child. How would you feel if some guy on the internet could say to millions of his fans that your dead child didn't exist, wasn't real, and then said, I still don't believe that bitch is real. Called your dead child a bitch. I am for freedom of speech, and because of freedom of speech, Ryan isn't in prison. But you gotta pay for saying 100% absolute lies on other people. Ryan won't fight for what he says or stand on anything he says, but he damn sure gonna pay for it. For those of you who don't know, he lost his defamation case for $17.5 million and more punitive damages coming. You're done, bro. You've been done. You're not a good person and never have been. You just pretend. Welcome to reality. Now, again, I don't want to make this a matter of Adam Calhoun versus Ryan Upchurch, because that's not what this is about. But I know there's also quite a few other people, musicians that have come out against Ryan Upchurch. Like Mises said something. Jussie Howard's wife even came out and said that she thought that he completely deserved it. Hard Target even said something. Hell, I've even read comments from people that are Upchurch fans that have came out and said, yeah, we like Upchurch, but we definitely don't agree with what he said about Kiely Rodney, and, you know, I definitely think that he should be responsible for paying this and that, he should have kept his mouth shut, da 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 da, and it's like, you know, it's okay to like somebody for their music or whatever and hold them accountable for their actions. You know what? That is something that I do encourage. Sometimes I know I don't do the same thing, but, to come out with a statement like that, you know, that right there can make a difference. Talking about how you think Upchurch deserves this or that, that doesn't mean you have to hate the dude, and that's not what I'm trying to make that a matter of. But yeah, to sit there and talk nonstop about a dead teenager, talk about how she's not real and all this crap, I'm sorry, dude, but that is sickening. That is disgusting behavior. And that right there should get you taken off the internet. Sitting there, it'd be one thing, like, maybe if he was like, this is how I feel about this situation, that situation, da 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 da, like, okay. Everybody is allowed to have their opinions. Again, I am not against that by any means. But to sit there and attack her family and talk about how, it's all a scam and this and that. Like, I'm sorry, dude. I don't know where the hell you are getting all your information from. It's one thing not believing everything you hear on TV, like, if it's coming from a certain news media or whatever. Just because you find some things that don't sit right with you, they don't look real or whatever, that does not mean that that's the case. Then there's this video that was uploaded to his YouTube channel. I didn't watch the entire thing. I'm not going to sit there and watch a 4-hour long video of him sitting down, not doing much other than responding and all that, But maybe there was something in this video that I missed, where he titled the hilarious deposition of Ryan Upchurch, sued for freedom of speech and thought. Like I said, I don't know what all was going on, because I never really had a chance to watch the video. And I'm sure people are going to comment and be like, well, you should have had a chance to watch this, da 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 da. Like I said, I'm not going to sit there and watch a 4-hour and 17-minute long video of people sitting in court, unless if it's something that affects me in a certain way. That's all I'm going to say about that. All I can say is, I'm sorry, but defaming people, especially those who have died, and to sit there and talk this and that about them, I am sorry, but that is not something that should be taken lightly. And just because you think you have the right to say something, that does not mean that it should be said. If you're talking about defamation or slandering, like, I'm sorry, but that stuff, right? Slander especially, I don't really think he's done much slandering. I guess he kind of has. At this point, I don't know. Upchurch has said so many things about Kiely Rodney and the situation around her, but so, I'm sure there was some slandering involved, but the whole defamation thing that's been going on, like, I'm sorry, dude, but you've talked nonstop about this girl and basically told millions of people, this situation is a lie. Oh, they're just raising money for this. They're just raising money for that. Oh, they're doing this. They're doing that. Oh, this picture actually came from here, came from there. Oh, the picture of her dad, the picture of her grandfather actually came from this person, that person, blah, 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 blah. Like, dude, shut the hell up already. You've been going on and on about this for 4 freaking years. And I know this isn't the first lawsuit that you've gotten hit with, because there's been a few other times where I've heard that you've gotten sued for this. And yet here you are still making videos about this. You know, and you got a lot of people that are sitting there like, oh, well, Upchurch has the right to say this and that. Yeah, he does. But there's a saying, and, a lot of it comes from people on the left and all. And I'm not trying to make this a right versus left thing. But there are times where I do think freedom of speech does not protect you from freedom of consequences. Regardless if you have the right to say something or not, yes, there are consequences for it. And, you saying that you don't like something or whatever, I mean, I don't think that there should be consequences for that by any means. But when you're talking about a family who lost a loved one, it's bad enough that their family probably doesn't even feel safe anymore where they're at because of your lousy ass. I mean, that's pretty sad. You got a lot of Upchurch people that are, or Upchurch fans, excuse me, that are just going on and on, talking this and that. And, the family is probably in fear of their lives now because of this. They're already dealing with enough pain and suffering from losing their loved one as is. And then they have to turn around and deal with this crap, deal with some jackass with millions and millions of followers because he wants to continue to talk about their dead daughter nonstop, which is absolutely freaking sickening. And, the sad thing is, this isn't the first time that people have done this. They do this with a lot of tragedies out there, like, 9/11 or, the Las Vegas concert shooting or, Parkland shooting and all this and that. Hell, there was somebody that I went to school with that lost her life in Times Square, New York back in 2017, and all because, there were things that did not sit right with them or whatever. You had a lot of people that were making speculations about that, saying it was a false flag, a staged hoax, her family are crisis actors and all that crap. There's just so much of that goes on, and I don't see too much of that these days. I don't know if it's because YouTube's been cracking down on it, but I definitely don't think they're cracking down on it enough, because, I mean, look at what Upchurch is doing. Not to mention, too, but when there was talk of Kiely Rodney going missing, and Ryan Upchurch talked about that, didn't he say at one point that after she was found that he wasn't going to talk about the situation anymore? I mean, exactly what happened to that? Just curious. I hate to say this about Upchurch, because, I actually respected Ryan Upchurch for quite some time. Up until he started beefing with Tom McDonald for no reason, and then just started randomly going after Adam Calhoun and quite a few other people. And yet, he still continues to go on and on about Jelly Roll, on and on about Kane Brown, on and on about Adam Calhoun, on and on about this and that. Oh, well, you don't understand what all Ryan Upchurch has been through. He actually found proof about what Jelly Roll was trying to do, what Kane Brown was trying to do. Oh, Colby Myers even did some explaining and called the situation out too. Da 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 da. You know what? I don't care about that. Considering Upchurch has, for one, teamed up with a country rapper that went after somebody's kid, and that dude would be Hosier, tried to go after Adam Calhoun's son, and sparked a beef with Adam Calhoun. And considering Upchurch has started beefing with so many people in the past few years, I could care less about what Upchurch has to say. No craps giving right there. But when you're talking about a family who lost a loved one and saying, calling that teenager a bitch for one, and then, making lies and all that, saying, her life wasn't real, this isn't real, that's not real, or whatever. I mean, I'm sorry, but this is sickening. First off, what happened to Kiely Rodney should have never happened. And her family damn sure should not be going through anywhere near the amount of bullshit that they're going through because of Upchurch's lousy ass. I'm not here to sit there and say that everything that Ryan Upchurch does is a complete lie and all, because yes, I'm sure he has done quite a few good things for a lot of people out there. I totally respect that 100%. But being extremely popular on the internet and doing so many good things for other people out there, that does not give you the right to sit there and talk about a dead teenager the way he does, and sit there and talk this and that about her family. I'm sorry, but that is a line that should never be crossed. Regardless of if what he's saying is true or not, this crap needs to just stop. And you know what? Hopefully this lawsuit will be a freaking wake-up call to this dude, because honestly, I don't know what else to say. It just saddens me that Upchurch has really gone downhill the past few years. And, despite the fact that, yeah, I do feel like there have been people that screwed Upchurch over, I mean, that does not make what he's doing okay. I will say that right now. Anyways, I don't want to keep going on and on about the situation. I'm sorry that I was speaking slow, and, there might have been times where I was speaking gibberish or whatever, and all. I do apologize for that. That's something that I unfortunately deal with on many occasions, so my apologies for that. But I don't want to make this video any longer. I'm sure this video is going to ruffle up feathers. I'm sure I'm going to receive judgment for quite a few things I've said. And you know what? I don't care. I have no issue receiving hate for saying what I said. That is all I have to say. But to everybody that agrees, feel free to like the video, feel free to subscribe. I usually talk about politics, but I've been cutting away from politics because there's just been so many things that have been going on. And yeah, there's a few things that I will try and touch up on here real soon, hopefully. If work continues to slow down a little bit, and hopefully if I actually have more time to myself for once. But yeah, you guys all take care. Be safe.